Oh man, I'm gonna sound like a woman here, but my hair is looking a little rough. It's about 3 days with no product in there, and that's keeping it natural, huh? But that's not what this day is. That's not what my topic is about today. Today we are going to talk about the beef, the fiery beef that is broiling right now between the Quartering and Timcast. If you're not aware of the bloodshed that has been spilled over these two titans colliding. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, there is definitely some animosity going on right now because of us finding out. I found out this morning from the tweet to everybody going back and forth and stuff like that, but I guess people were talking about it last night. I have a life and a girlfriend, so I was enjoying myself while people were on Twitter complaining about everything. But specifically, Jeremy from the Quartering was supposed to go on to Timcast last night, we come to find out, and had since, due to complications of communication, responded really late to Tim as to where he had already rebooked another guest. Jeremy responds saying that, he would gladly have Brittany Venti go on in his place to talk about the current situation that's going on with Eliza. And essentially, Tim kind of clapped back a little bit saying, that the reason that he's not on the show is because of his late response. They had to find somebody there. And I understand. I'm going to come out and say that I definitely understand both sides of this. But if you don't know the ultimate reason why this is so passionate right now, it's because of this Eliza Bleu situation, ultimately. Which, if you haven't already checked it out, I did already make a video on her specifically and who she is to this debacle. Go do some research on who she is. You can check out my video. You can check out other people's videos. I don't care. But you should probably know who she is before catching up, to this point. But essentially, she's a person who has been exposed as a fraud in the industry of advocates of survivors of human trafficking and advocates of, people of that nature, of, people who have been human trafficked, victims of abuse and oppressed in a sexual nature, I guess, or intimacy in the guise of romance. And her background, she's claimed that she had a similar background. Well, these are things that are being contested currently right now. And Tim is being criticized by many people, not just Jeremy, for being silent on it, specifically because just in December, he actually had Eliza on the show and allowed her to spew off her side of the story of her advocacy and her point in her, where she's at without. I think that they did, with the information available at the time, a very decent job of talking to her and kind of questioning her about her background with it. That made, honestly, from the questionings that happened on Timcast, is what made me really kind of look into Eliza's background and say, maybe everything isn't as it adds up. But as you know, in my other video I made about it, I said that it was pretty obvious to me that she wasn't fully who she said she was just from Twitter alone. And then catching her on camera on Timcast was just like, it's almost glaringly obvious right now that she is not one, like, that she's being protective of her background for fear of exposure, is what it read as. So that happened. And Jeremy of the Quartering has been kind of having an issue with her for a long time. And then it all kind of came to a boiling point when Brittany Venti was suspended permanently, I think, from Twitter for posting an image of Eliza Bleu modeling in a World Star video from years ago, which is publicly available information, publicly available image. So, and not containing any type of vulgar content or anything like that. So it really didn't make sense why she got suspended. I totally understand why everybody is rallying behind this. And I already didn't like Eliza Bleu in the way that she was coming, but after all of the way that Twitter has been kind of acquiescing to her whims to protect her, it's very strange. I don't like it or respect it. So I appreciate Jeremy kind of putting the pressure on these people in that way. However, I will also say that with everything going on, it's kind of girly the way that I don't know another way to say it, but it's kind of girly the way that they like are going back and forth on Twitter. Like, it's so passive aggressive, and these are two very passive aggressive men. Like, Tim Pool is not good at speaking on his negative feelings of people. He's just really not. Like, he's one of those people who tries to, and I'm gonna say it, this is just my opinion of it. He's one of those people who thinks that it is more dignified to never say anything negative about somebody, even if they are your enemy. And I am not really like that. I pretty much, like, even my friends, like, I won't publicly like embarrass my friends or anything like that, but I air out any qualms that I have with no discretion between you and me personally. Like, if I had a problem with you, viewer, I would talk to you about it, and I wouldn't be disrespectful, but I'd be like, yeah, no, I don't like how you do that because it's like this and da-da-da. Tim thinks that anything like that is essentially beneath him, or at least that's how he comes off. And Jeremy is kind of similar, but he's much worse at it. Like, you could tell, I'm going to say it like this. Jeremy strikes me as a dude who was picked on a lot when he was younger, or at least was not super cool because of the way that he reacts. He cares way too much about what people in the comments say. The way that he tries to befriend people by, like, he tries to talk about himself in certain, in the same sentences as other people, like Elon Musk, let's say, to try and get himself in those conversations, which is not necessarily a bad move. And I'm not trying to make it seem like he's a small fry or anything. Like, the quartering is doing very good, and I appreciate the work that he does very well. These are just things that I've noticed about his personality from what I've observed. So, with all of that being said, give me 1 second here. I got to check on something. Okay, cool. With all that being said, seeing him and Tim go back and forth in this passive aggressive way as a man is just like, it's so silly and it's so girly. I actually am going to have to make a part 2 to this video because I'm running out of time to record this, and I have a lot more that I actually wanted to say on the situation. A lot more is probably going to develop, but this was really to inform you that this was happening if you were not paying attention to it and why it was happening. So the quartering, Timcast, beefing, Eliza Bleu is the crux of the situation. Both of them are trying to pretend like it's not. It is. Let's see how the story develops.